Hey everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel, and in today's video I'm going to help you guys get set up for Storm PvP. I have made guides very similar to this in the past, but I decided in this video I'm going to try and break things down a little more. Because honestly, sometimes like talking with my chat and my girlfriend or like the devs even, I assume that people like know where to get a lot of these things, but they don't. And really, that just makes me look like an asshole at the end of the day. So that doesn't help. Anyways, in this video, I am going to try and be as helpful as possible. And we'll basically start from scratch and build the whole setup. Also, if you are curious about any of my gear setups or deck setups and you just want to get that, updated quickly, you can join my Discord. It's in the description if you want to join. So, the first thing you're going to want to do on a storm is make your pet. Now, pets are great because when you're leveling up, you actually get pet XP. 4 pet XP per quest you turn in, that is mainline. So, you should get started on that right away. Now, currently, this is the Storm meta pet right now. I would highly recommend doing the first Voracious Void raid and getting this Storm Null Dragon. It gives 3 Storm Elf copies, which is really important because people will shield every turn against a Storm, and it's incredibly frustrating. You could run the Electric Elf pet or the Storm Elf pet, I forget what they're called, but they give 1 and 2 copies instead of 3, so you have a more likely chance of deck filling it with the Storm Elf pets, which is why I recommend getting this one. Alright, so let's get onto the actual gear setup now. So, first piece you're going to want is the Xibalba Crying Sky Helm. Now, any of these Xibalba pieces you see here in the video can be found in the Crown Shop. So go to the Crown Shop, Horde, Lore and Pack, or whatever the hell that said, and then go to the Fanciful Fairy Kai Horde Pack. Now, this is the exact same template as the Xibalba gear. Okay, so if you don't want to raid, you could open the pack and get it that way. Or what you can do as well is go to the Jinn or the Genie, whatever the hell he's called, and you could trade your loyalty tokens for the packs right here. Also, be sure to get these pins if you haven't already. They are very important. You can craft these with Dreamwater in Wallaroo. Okay, next up, you're gonna want the Dream Stalker armor. So, this essentially is the Reaver gear from Wallaroo. Now, what you're gonna want to do is take your Reaver piece of gear and transmute it into Stalker. You can go to Bingo here in Wallaroo and either craft your Reaver Storm Robe, or if you got it dropped from like the Nightmare or whatnot, you could take this piece and then transmute it right here into the Stalker, which is what you're gonna want. Okay, next up we have the boots. Now this is probably the weirdest part of the Storm build, but essentially, you're still running the 160 burrow boots because there really is no other better boots in the game right now. And in case you're wondering why there are no other better boots in the game, it's simply because when the level cap went up to 170, KingsIsle decided to make the Stalker boots absolutely terrible compared to the burrow boots. So at least until we get some good boots with an outgoing pin with some good stats, it's kind of gonna have to be the burrow boots. These are just very good stats, even though they are still 160. Okay, next up, the wand. So you're either going to be getting the Fairy Kai one from the pack, as I stated a minute ago, or the Xibalba one from the raid itself. Now, either one is fine. Personally, I like the Xibalba one for the Storm set shield, but I mean, it's really not a big deal. Just get whatever one is easier for you. They're identical in stats, and that's what matters really at the end of the day. Next up, we have the Athame. So this is what I run on my Athame. Now, generally, before I get into the Athame amulet ring and all, you're going to want to have 5 circle sockets on a storm, and you're going to want 4 of those to be the pierce, and then 1 of those to be your school's damage. Next up, we have the amulet. So the amulet on Storm you're going to want is going to be the Squall King's Charm. Now, you can get this by farming the Gold Key boss Takunobo in Mushu, or the Lambent Fire in Avalon in the Crystal Cave, I believe it's called. Now, the reason this is the best amulet, there's a couple of things that go into it. One, compared to the Reaver and the Hunhow, you get the most health. And typically, most schools run Hunhow, but Storm is the only school in the game that doesn't get resist no matter what you do numerically. Fun fact, you can look at the stat caps, I'll put it on screen. So, your resist, even if you cap it out, you still have 0 to 5 out of 7 schools. It's not worth it. So, you'd rather get more health from the amulet. And a Steel Pip item card, which is very good, because Steel Pip is one of the only moves you can do on a Storm to like gain some tempo. Also, you get a Magnify item card, which is pretty handy, especially considering, you know, we're kind of in an Aura meta right now. Next up, you're going to want the Wild Skyfarers banned from 160 as well. So yes, we have 2 pieces of 160 gear. This one is pretty standard though. You'll see a lot of schools have this ring, not just Storm. Every school pretty much has it. I'd say like 5 out of 7 schools has this ring right now. It's just because, like the Bro Boots, KingStyle hasn't made a good upgrade to 170 for these rings. Actually, the Wastelander, which is the same template as Skyfarers, it actually turned out to be a downgrade in a way, which is kind of weird. Next piece of gear you're going to want is the Clockwork Courser. This is just amazing. You can find this in the crown shop sometimes, or you could buy it on the website, or I think like GameStop. It's like the Great Cuckoo Bundle or something. I don't know what the hell it's called. Then for the deck, you're going to want the Shocking Sage deck. Now, you get this from Lambit or Takanobu, the same place where you get the amulet, so you get both of these at once, which is really nice. But you get a lot of good stats here, and then you also get a Dark Surge item card, which is a staple in the meta right now. Now, once you put all these stats together, these are going to be the meta stats you have on a Storm. If you've done PvP for a while, or you watch a lot of streams, you've probably seen this build a lot of times. It's been around the meta for probably almost a year now. It's pretty solid around the board. The only big issue with it really is the fact that Storm doesn't get resist, and obviously the dual schooling is objectively terrible. But no matter what you do with your assist and your dual school, it'll be bad either way. So that's why people run this build in the meta, right? It's just because you get the best of, like, you know, your damage, your health, your crit block, your pierce, your healing, your shads, pips, a piece of everything, you know. There's nothing you can do on a Storm to control the resist shield interaction or your dual school until the devs make some more balancing changes around that. Okay, next up, let's talk about spellements. Now, I'm going to order these in terms of the most important to the least important. And first is going to be Storm Owl. Now, this card is just nuts. Look at every tier that's not max tier. It's just incredibly powerful. Okay. Now, the best way to get this, in my opinion, what I did to get max tier of every spell on everyone, for this stuff at least, you're going to want to get cantrips. Now, how you get cantrips, in case you're wondering, you're going to go to the commons or anyone with the is her name Abner? I think her name's Abner or something like that. But she will give you the quest to, you know, get cantrips. She also has a lot of other quests here as well. Then she'll send you to Wisteria, just do the quest, pretty easy. Then you're going to want to go to Floating Mountains in Azteca with 2 other people, because you need a group of 3 for cantrip chest, right? And then you're just going to kind of roam around that area and then, you know, get those spellements up. I do have a video on my channel here showcasing the best way and best cantrip spots for everything. So you can check that video out if you want more help with the cantrip chest and the cantrip strats. Next up is Catch of the Day. This card is very, very, very important. You'll be using this like 9 times out of 10 on a Storm Wizard. You can get this spell from Takanobu in Cave of Solitude in Mushu. Next most important spell, in my opinion, is going to have to be Berry Surprise. This card is just great. Again, if you can max tier it, that will help you a whole lot, trust me. You can get this by farming the Spirit of Ignorance gold key boss, I believe, in Crab Alley in Wizard City. And then lastly, you are going to want Catalan. You can get this from Lambent Fire in Crystal Cave, I believe, in Avalon. I think it's been a while since I had a tier 5, but yeah, I'd say those are the most important storm cards that are must-haves. There are a couple others like Queen Calypso, really good in the death balance matchup as well. You get that from the Aquila Gold Key boss, Lady Stonier's, and Triton max tier is okay as well. But generally, you don't want to rely on this because Triton is not that good compared to like Winter Moon and Ninja Pigs, you know. So like if you find yourself trading hits with those schools, you'll lose anyways. So Triton isn't really that important, but it's not bad to have, definitely not a must-have. Okay, so the last things we need to do here is make a deck and pick our dual school. So, first thing we're going to do is pick our dual school. Okay, so first up, you're going to want to do weaving. Now, you're going to want to go to Charlie, the fire tree right here. You know, select weaving school, do that. You'll be a lightning weaver. You're going to want to do the quest line until you get the fire piercing jewels, which you see right here on your screen. Once you get 4 of these and socket them on your Athame, ring, amulet, and deck, you're actually going to go over to the death tree next and train this guy up, I think, to level 2, which will give you the attenuate right here. A lot of people do this on every school. Basically, you can keep the stats for your, you know, main dual school, but now you have a really good extra card that wasn't for your school. Okay, so now we are going to want to make a deck. So your deck will probably look like mine, empty with item cards. First thing you want to do, get rid of any unwanted item cards. So blades on a storm, like Starblade, absolutely terrible. Get rid of that. I know you're probably thinking, Liam, Storm is the blading school of Wizard101. Funny enough, it is the worst blading school in the game, even though it's the blading school, I know. Crazy concept. King style balancing right there for you. What we're going to do first is start from the back. So you're going to want at least 3 or 4 Dark Surges. I like having 3 because I get 4 from my extra item card on the deck. 3 to 4 strikes again. I recommend 4 because I just hate people who shield spam. Max attenuate. If you have steel pip, I would highly recommend that. It is very, very good. It's the only way Storm can actually gain tempo early on, since you can't really blade or trap because people will just set shield every turn and make it irrelevant, and it'll be actually like a tempo net loss for you. But if you do a steel pip, it's always a tempo net gain for you on a Storm, so it's really good. You're going to want max death aura attenuates. These right here are very good. I know a lot of people like Starfall, especially with Ket. It's not bad personally, it's just like when I could use it, I didn't really need it, and the matchups I was already winning, I didn't need it, you know? But the moment I swapped to this on the Storm, it just felt so much better, I'm telling y'all. I think people haven't really caught onto this, but changing from Starfall to this Death Aura has been so nice on the Storm. Next up, I like to pack at least 1 Rebirth because in case somebody, you know, Q-snipes me or is trap stacking like a weirdo, it's good to have 1. This is good that you clear a lot of traps, get a buff back, and you set up your Thundering Djinn or Path B Owl conditional as well. You're going to want at least a couple of Death and Myth sets. Myth sets are pretty good because, you know, you have to shield to not die and get one shot into a Djinn. Death is a counter matchup. You kind of need a set shield when they ghoul, you know, so you want a couple of those. Alright, so next up we are on to the Storm hits. So I like to pack at least 2 or 3 Storm Owls. You don't really need more than that because you only use like 1 in game typically. Maybe sometimes 2, you know. Then I like to also pack 2 Turmoil Onis as well. Nothing else here, it's too good. Cat, you don't really need that, right? I like to pack like 2 Triton just to, you know, have it. 2 Rusolka, you don't use it too often, but it's good where it's good. Dark and Stormy's ass. Zilla, you put that inside, nothing too important. I'd say about 3 or 4 hidden bubbles, pretty good. You don't really need any more, any less, because it's not that important. It's just good where it's good, you know? I pack roughly about 2 or 3 Catalans. I've always ran 2, it's just been my comfortable number. Cat is obviously a great card, but it's just kind of situational, you know what I mean? So, you don't spam it a whole lot, but it's good where it's good. Max Catch of the Day, this card is just great all around the board. Max Bubble, because, well, you need Max Bubble. And then I like to either pack around 4 to 6 queens. This is usually just for the death matchup. I'd say like 4 or 5 will be completely fine. Not really too big of a deal there. Max Berries, just a good shield breaker. A good heal, good tempo gain for you. Can't really go wrong with it. Then you're going to want Storm and Ice shields. These are good in Storm mirrors. Very important. Packing these is going to be very, very pivotal for the Storm mirror. Also, if Ices are queuing you and they're running Storm. And aside from that, that's pretty much the main components of the deck. You could kind of, throw in whatever you want from here on out. This is just the very, very important, crucial parts of the deck setup that you're going to want to be competitive. Personally, I like to throw in like 2 Jin's Vexes for Death Wizards because I really don't like that matchup. I'm also going to pack a couple of Bats as well because, again, I really hate Poison and Frostbite. I suppose I will add an extra hit and bubble here as well. Now, on to the sideboard. For the sideboard, this is going to be primarily your pip gain moves or, where your counters go. So you're going to want stuff like, 2 Elephants for shield stackers. It's really good. 2 Amulets for like Glimpse and Trap stackers. Also pretty damn good. You could pack Fire Elf. I don't really think it's bad to pack. Personally, I have been packing it and I've been, Warlord pretty consistently. Storm Elf is kind of just better. The reason Fire Elf isn't good on a Storm is because A, it doesn't really do any damage at all, and B, they just set shield again, so you're essentially just doing like a 2-pip shatter net loss move, it's just not good. But you could pack like 2 Fire Elves if you want. It's really not a terrible move. Since the resist shield interaction on a Storm is broken, you don't really want to rely on towering a whole lot. You're just going to be wanting the pressure. You could probably go for like 2-3 towers. I like to only run 2 because knowing the shield resist interaction is broken in the meta, especially at higher ranks, people know to abuse that. It's just broken, so I tend to stay away from that to the best of my ability. Impair is pretty good. You'll want like 2 or 3 of those ideally. We're going to want to pack, a lot of Path B, Storm Owls, so pack about 3 to 4 of those, I would recommend. And then you're going to also want Hot and Dot counters. Personally, I only ran like 1 Triton and 1 Zilla because just being a Storm is scary enough for most people to not Dot or Hot you. But packing like 2 of these are pretty good deal. You're going to want 2 4-pips as well for very late game. Just a very, very nice thing to have. 1 Scarecrow, and the reason for this is it's really good against people who blade stack, maybe a life, maybe a death, maybe cosplayers. A lot of cosplayers will Q-stamp people who don't run like big blade counters like this, so I like to pack 1. This also sets up your Oni as well, buys you a lot of time too against cosplayers, so I haven't lost since I packed this. It's pretty damn good, not gonna lie. Then I like to pack a Death Dispel because, again, I hate Death for Storm. It's like one of the most one-sided matchups in the whole game, so I'm trying to set for that as heavily as possible. 4 to 5 Empowers. This is really important because, again, Storm doesn't have a good move early on to like Blade or Trap like a Myth can do, or a Fire. So instead, you're going to want to Steel Pip or Empower turn 1 and 2, no matter who you play against. It's the only way to get tempo and pressure and keep up. Then I like to back like about 3 or 4 weaknesses. Again, we're not really relying a whole lot on debuffs. And from there, the rest of the deck is pretty much just Galvanics because, well, we're in an aura meta right now, right? So very, very important. I like to pack about 6 to 7 auras, you know, whether I'm on a fire or a storm. It just feels right to me. Personally, that's what works pretty good. And yeah, I mean, that's our deck setup, y'all. It's pretty much what I've been using. I mean, obviously, there's a couple different things here and there, but if you run the setup I helped you in this video with, you should be ranking up a lot. Again, be honest with yourself about your losses, what you could have done better. Obviously, there's some things that you just can't really do a whole lot against, but it's very important to be honest with yourself about your mistakes to get better, rank up, and yeah, I hope to see you in queue. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like and sub if you made it this far. If not, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.